Imagine living in a busy city filled with millions of people. Yet someone could disappear, without anyone realizing for years. In the historic Nigerian city of Ibadan, a shocking discovery stunned an entire neighborhood. Inside a quiet house behind a locked door, the body of a man was discovered. But what made the situation truly disturbing was that authorities believed he had been dead for nearly 4 years. How could something like this happen in a city full of life and people? How did nobody notice? And what does this story reveal about modern life and the way communities sometimes drift apart? Today we're going to explore the mysterious and heartbreaking story of a man whose passing went unnoticed for years. To understand why this story shocked so many people, we first need to understand the city where it happened. Ibadan is one of the largest cities in West Africa. It is known for its crowded 7 lively markets and rich history. For generations, Ibadan has been a place where communities are close-knit. In many areas, neighbors know each other well. People greet each other every morning, share food, and look out for one another. That's why the discovery of a man who had passed away alone in his own home for years raised so many questions. Because in a place where life moves so loudly and quickly, how could silence last that long? The man at the center of this story was described by neighbors as quiet and private. He reportedly lived alone in a modest home in a residential area of the city. Some people in the neighborhood remembered seeing him occasionally. He wasn't someone who caused trouble or drew attention. In fact, many said he simply kept to himself. Over time, people began noticing that they hadn't seen him in a while. But in a busy city like Ibadan, it's not uncommon for someone to move away, travel, or change jobs. So most neighbors assumed exactly that. They thought he had simply left. Months passed. Then years. The house remained locked. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Many homes sit empty for periods of time if the owner travels or relocates. The building slowly became part of the background of the neighborhood. Life continued around it. Children played in nearby streets. Neighbors went to work. Markets opened and closed every day. And yet, behind the door of that house, something tragic had already happened. The truth finally came to light when concerns about the property began to grow. Some reports suggested that unpaid rent, unanswered calls, or general curiosity about the long-abandoned home eventually raised alarm. Authorities were contacted. When officials finally entered the house, they discovered something no one expected. Inside the building was the body of the man who had once lived there. Evidence suggested that he had been dead for a very long time, possibly years. The discovery shocked the neighborhood, because for all that time, people had walked past the house without realizing what had happened inside. News spread quickly throughout the community. Neighbors struggled to process the situation. Some people expressed sadness, while others felt deep regret. Many asked the same question: how could this happen? In many traditional communities, people check on each other regularly. If someone disappears, others usually notice quickly. But modern city life can be different. People are busy. Work schedules are demanding. And sometimes neighbors barely know each other anymore. Experts say situations like this, while rare, can occur when several factors combine. First, living alone can increase isolation. If a person has limited contact with family or friends, it may take longer for someone to notice their absence. Second, neighbors may assume someone moved away, rather than investigate further. Third, in large cities, people often focus on their own responsibilities and routines. None of these things are unusual on their own. But together, they can create a situation where someone disappears quietly. Stories like this are deeply tragic. But they also highlight an important issue that many societies are beginning to face: urban isolation. Even in cities full of people, loneliness can still exist. Sometimes people live side by side for years without truly knowing each other. This story reminds us of the importance of community, connection, and looking out for one another. Sometimes a simple check-in with a neighbor can mean more than we realize. The man discovered in that quiet house in Ibadan may have lived privately, but his story has now sparked conversations far beyond that neighborhood. About community, about loneliness, and about the small ways we can care for the people around us. Because sometimes the difference between being forgotten and being remembered is simply someone noticing that you're gone. If this story made you think, let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And remember, sometimes the smallest act of checking on someone can make the biggest difference.